24-hour countdown. The 14-day ceasefire between Washington and Tehran officially expires tomorrow, April 22, 2026. The current reality in the CENTCOM Area of Responsibility, or AOR, is not peaceful. It is precisely a standby state. From Tehran, President Masoud Pezeshkian has just delivered a dual strategic deterrent. Diplomacy is mentioned as a tool, but it comes with a decree activating the highest alert level for the entire defense system. The command stance is coldly established: maintain combat formation and absolutely do not lower the guard against the U.S.
In modern warfare, political statements are often a smokescreen concealing the mobilization of military hardware. The past 14 days of silence present a core intelligence puzzle. Is this an effort to defuse the situation or simply a tactical pause? Most likely, both CENTCOM and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, are fully exploiting this time window to refine rules of engagement, reposition early warning radar complexes, and reload forward ballistic payloads before H-hour. This 14-day ceasefire is absolutely not a strategic concession. From a military doctrine perspective, this is a situational escalation control procedure aimed at preventing the Middle East security architecture from sliding into a large-scale kinetic war. Signals intelligence from closed-door negotiations indicates that the actual concession structure remains frozen.
Washington has set a red line. Tehran must sever its ammunition logistics routes and disconnect command and control with its proxy force network. Conversely, Iran demands the U.S. suspend intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance flight missions and loosen the economic siege. On this chessboard, neither side accepts exposing defensive vulnerabilities. President Masoud Pezeshkian's statement of distrusting Washington holds no emotional value. It is a risk analysis postulate based on historical beta, using the collapse of the 2018 JCPOA agreement as a reference frame. Despite back-channel communications operating at full capacity, the U.S. Treasury's core sanctions are still strangling the oil export lifeline. Until this existential threat is removed, Iran's Supreme National Security Council determines that maintaining comprehensive combat readiness is a mandatory, non-negotiable requirement.
The current situation is a classic example of brinkmanship. Field situation reports expose a thorny reality. Diplomats are negotiating, but no force protection condition downgrade orders have been issued by CENTCOM or the IRGC. Both sides are communicating while their weapon systems are already fed with target parameters. In a non-linear combat environment with overlapping electronic warfare frequency bands, just one radar misidentification or a UAV flight path violating the rules of engagement by even a few miles will instantly trigger an automated kinetic chain reaction, wiping out all de-escalation efforts ahead of April 22nd.
Entering the countdown phase, the focal point of all geospatial intelligence systems is now aimed directly at blind spots within Iranian territory. The IRGC hasn't just issued a hollow alert. Reconnaissance data confirms the tactical maneuver of transporter erector launchers carrying ballistic missiles. They have left fortified underground silos to deploy into field positions. Simultaneously, the domestic integrated air defense system centered around Bavar 373 and KHORD-AD-15 complexes has shifted status, ready for target lock to protect the airspace over critical nuclear facilities. Tehran is using military hardware to send an ultimate deterrent message. Any preemptive strike effort will meet a dense anti-access area denial umbrella and an immediate saturation attack counterstrike.
However, Iran's asymmetric warfare capability is structured far beyond its borders through its proxy network. Over the past 14 days, the combat graph of these forces has intentionally dropped sharply. Hezbollah narrowing its artillery range, the Houthis reducing the pace of suicide UAV launches, or Iraqi militias suspending harassment of U.S. bases are absolutely not signs of de-escalation. Through the lens of operational logistics, this strict emission control is essentially a force consolidation phase, reloading ammunition, synchronizing the command and control chain, and establishing new target parameters. If negotiations collapse after April 22nd, this network will reactivate multi-domain strike campaigns aimed at exhausting the interceptor reserves of regional air defense batteries.
In response, the Pentagon has completed restructuring its force posture in the Middle East. CENTCOM is operating a highly robust integrated air and missile defense architecture. The center of gravity for deterrent firepower is the carrier strike groups maintaining a ready-to-strike position in the Arabian Sea. Airspace support is provided by a layered interception system with FAD batteries at high altitudes and Patriot PAC-3s at low altitudes. Above the stratosphere, strategic stealth reconnaissance platforms continuously gather electro-optical data. Washington's force posture is designed not only to break a saturation attack, but is also ready to launch deep penetration counterstrikes using F-35 stealth fighters and BGM-109 Tomahawk cruise missiles. Any ROE violation will result in the IRGC's headquarters being wiped out within minutes.
Crossing the April 22nd red line, the Middle East security space will face a strategic crossroads. The highest probability scenario, based on intelligence analysis, is a last-minute tactical extension. Both Washington and Tehran accurately calculate the uncontrollable lethality of a direct kinetic war. Maintaining the ceasefire absolutely does not reflect peaceful intentions. In essence, it is a strategic delaying tactic. This move acts as a pressure relief valve, providing diplomats with more negotiating space while preventing frontline units from accidentally triggering fire due to extreme tension, strictly violating the rules of engagement. However, if back channels collapse, the situation will immediately shift into the second scenario, low-intensity conflict. There won't be a full-scale conventional war. Instead, there will be a series of controlled deterrent strikes, tightly calibrated to remain below the threshold of total war. At that point, Tehran will lift the stand-down order, greenlighting its proxy network to resume strike campaigns using swarm UAVs and rockets. Conversely, CENTCOM will immediately respond with surgical strikes. F-15E Strike Eagle or F-18 Super Hornet squadrons carrying JDAM smart bombs will be deployed to neutralize enemy C-2 nodes and mobile launchers. The tactical focus is to inflict just enough sharp damage to maintain deterrence without sparking an irreversible escalation. A second, non-kinetic front will instantly erupt in the financial space. Every explosion after April 22nd will be priced by algorithmic trading systems as a strategic supply chain disruption risk. The fatal choke point lies in the Strait of Hormuz. Just one naval blockade order of the sea lines of communication or an IRGC Navy oil tanker intervention mission will cause Brink crude prices to shatter all resistant ceilings. Post-April 22nd combat is not only measured in explosive warheads and radar warning signals, it is a macroeconomic detonator capable of reshaping the entire global inflation and energy security structure. Synthesizing the multi-source intelligence data chain, the U.S.-Iran strategic trajectory is being compressed at a geopolitical choke point. Both Washington and Tehran are trapped in a complex operational equation: how to optimize domestic stability without weakening the deterrence posture before their alliance networks and proxy forces.
President Masoud Pezeshkian's doctrine accurately reflects the brutal nature of the modern combat environment. The dual policy, maintaining diplomatic comms to ease sanctions while simultaneously keeping a finger on the trigger of the IRGC's defensive missile system, is not contradictory at all. It is a core survival protocol. Maintaining the highest level of combat readiness is the only measure to neutralize the risk of a strategic surprise.
The next 24 hours constitute the strategic inflection point that will reshape the entire security architecture in the CENTCOM AOR for the second half of 2026. As the countdown clock hits T0, all diplomatic statements will give way to rules of engagement. Our vision must now lock on to the maneuver of military hardware and kinetic operations on the ground rather than cold room press releases. We will continuously update you with the latest situation reports. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to stay on top of the battlefield situation.